Oh, hello. It's time to run down the balance data slate and FAQ changes that were released today. Kill Team Quarter 1 2023 balance changes. Here we go. So a little bit of a preamble first. We got an update to the FAQs and the balance data slate at the same time, and we got a video with the lead developer on a MetaWatch article, and we got an article. So kudos for Games Workshop for dropping everything in a big, solid lump so it can be digested together. That's great. I'd much rather have an FAQ and data slate drop at the same time and have less frequent but more impactful sets of changes to the game. That's great. And it's great that they did an article and they got Elliot in the studio and did a video as well. Really, really pleased with that. Well done, Games Workshop. I'm going to go through and break it down as I usually do by team, and starting with the core rules. Overall, though, there is a theme of nerfs to damage reduction type abilities. So those of you that follow the channel Can You Roll a Crit, one of the big kind of two UK-based kill team channels, much bigger than me, but hopefully I'm much more amusing. He had a big rant about damage reduction. I made that a big kind of soapboxy video, and they seem to have done the things that he was asking for, more or less. I would just have a plea, whatever you think of these changes, don't give Crit too much of the credit. I say that both ways around, so don't assume that don't go to his video and say, I hate these changes, oh my gosh, why did you tell Games Workshop to do these things? And likewise, don't be like, oh, well done, these changes are amazing, you're the new lead dev of my life. He's just a guy with a camera and, says things and gets them right. Let's not have a big community schism. Anyway, I hope the video is useful to folks. That was enough kind of inside baseball drama, so let's just get on with the show. The core rules changes, and they've changed quite a lot, but not everything is some things are much bigger than others. So first of all, we got to change to Kill Zone Octarius, the scramble terrain, and the following after the first bullet point. The operative cannot move over any other terrain features during this move. So if you do a scramble, you can't move over any other terrain features. I can't see what exploit this was fixing. I'm sure it was fixing an exploit. Hatchway fight changed the final sentence to read, in all steps of that combat, the enemy operative is treated as being within the engagement range of the active operative. Again, I can't quite see what the drama was there, what people were trying to do. Please enlighten me in the comments if you know. Right, so onto the questions, the FAQ questions. So, in rare instances, where's my laser pointer? In rare instances, an operative has multiple rules that allow it to ignore lost runes. Can both be used, e.g. the Chronomancer's Chronometron Cryptic Action and Quantum Reanimates Equipment. Yes, one after another. I'd love to know if there's any other examples of a thing that can do two different things, gain lost wounds, or if it's literally just, at the moment anyway, an FAQ for the Chronomancer. Next question. If an operative can perform a free action, but another rule requires additional action points to be subtractive to perform such an action, which takes precedence? For example, Corsair Voidsguard Lightfinger's Ploy and Phobos Strike Team Reaver Terror unique action. The former, it's still free. So if your action is free, not 0 AP, but free, it's always free. Think of it like dividing by 0. So you just it doesn't matter what your opponent has done, it's still free. Question. As you cannot use an operative's abilities when it's incapacitated, what happens when it's affected by a rule that states it isn't removed from the kill zone yet, e.g. in Death Atonement, Tactical Ploy from Veteran Guardsman? In this instance, you can use its abilities until it's removed from the kill zone. Good. Not sure what part of that was. Quite often with these FAQs, it's like, well, I'm not that plugged in. I'm not that sure what part of that was in contention. That seems to make sense to me as how that will be played, so good. Again, if you know the background and context to some of these questions, leave it in the comments so I can learn and we can all learn together. Over here now, if a rule treats an operative as being injured regardless of any rules that say they cannot be injured, e.g. Rust, Emanation, Strategic Ploy, Galabox Infected, and another rule allows an operative to ignore modifications to one or more of its characteristics, e.g. the Calm Head Tactical Ploy, from the Imperial Navy breaches, which takes precedences. The former, operatives will always be affected by such abilities. This is like a general rule for all Games Workshop games, right? regardless of any other rules means legitimately regardless of any other rules. If it says regardless of any other rules, then it means you ignore all those other rules. Yes. Question. In rare instances, an operative can gain a special rule or critical hit rule more than once. Can both be used, e.g. Pistolier's dual Kroot pistols and Prey's strategic ploy both provide balanced? No. The operative only benefits from the same rule once. If the X is different, choose which one to use. So you can't stack special rules or critical rules from different sources. Question. When using the guard action, if I interrupt an enemy operative's activation and perform an Overwatch action, can I target a different enemy operative? Yes. So this is one of those things where this was game as played, I think. Like, everybody was playing it this way. Even Nick Baton on the Warhammer Plus Battle Report played it this way. It didn't make any sense. Like, you could put a guy on guard and somebody could move into view with your guy on guard, and then you could go, well, I've seen that guy, so now I'm going to take a shot at this other guy that I previously ignored. So this is just confirming that the weird thing that doesn't make sense is actually what they intended. It was how people were playing it, so it shouldn't be a material change to most games, but it just confirms, yes, that's the plan. Now, this is the big one in a couple of different ways. Critical Operations 2022. Each player cannot score more than 16 victory points in total from the mission objectives during the battle instead of 12. So this means that you can now score 16 victory points from primaries instead of 12. Now, there's a difference of opinion here as to what this actually means. If you go and look in the core rulebook or in the little leaflet that came with Critical Operations, it doesn't matter, they both say the same thing. They have the limits for primaries, the limits for secondaries, the VP for painted, and then they say at the bottom, you can never score more than 20 victory points in a game. So as we all know, or at least as we should all know, at the moment it's 12 for primaries, 6 for secondaries, 2 for painted, for a max of 20, and realistically, most people ignore the 2 for painted rule and are scoring out of 18. What the rules say now, and this is dumb, this is not to be taken as me advocating for this, what the rules now appear to say, if you look in the book, is that you can now score 16 for primary, 6 for secondary, 2 for painted, to a max of 20. So 16 plus 6 is 22, plus 2 for painted is 24, to a max of 20. So one way of thinking it, we're now playing to a max of 20, and you can get 2 VP from being painted, but if you're not painted, you can get those 2 VP from your primaries. I don't think it's meant to be this way. I think it's meant to be, it's now 16 from the primary and still 6 from the secondary, and if you're ignoring painted, carry on ignoring painted, and so you're playing out of a total of 22. And then if you're using the 2 for painted, you're playing out of 24. I assume. But it's technically not how it's worded. It's how I'm going to play it, right? I'm going to certainly play it out of 2022. And keep the painted thing separate, right? But in theory, the overall victory points is still capped at 20. So maybe this needs a tiny tedious FAQ, because there's going to be somebody out there that's like, oh no, rules is written, rules is written. Some don't like it raw, but rules is written. We've got to do it this way. It might have been into all the people who told me when we had the drama about vantage points becoming like invisible, that it's intentional, all this thing's intentional. No, it's there. It's very clear in my mind. I could be wrong. It's very clear in my mind that there are now 4 extra victory points up for grabs from the primaries, right? Yeah, 4 extra victory points. So if you intended in your group to basically say we're playing from 18 and fuck painted, then it's 22. Sorry, I swear. Sorry about that. And if you intended to play from 20, then it's 24. So let me know in the comments where you stand on this controversy. We're going to have to move on. Phobos. So further buffs for Phobos. They've lost none of their existing buffs, and they've gained 1 buff. I mean, there's something about guerrilla battle honors. Guerrilla battle honors are a narrative thing. No idea. I think it's something that they made irrelevant accidentally with a different change, so now they've given this a thing that it does. The big changes here, Add the following to Vanguard Strategic Ploy. I've reproduced the old version of the Vanguard Strategic Ploy down here. So add the following to Vanguard Strategic Ploy. You can perform a mission action or the pick-up action for 1 less AP to a minimum of 0 AP. So the Vanguard Strategic Ploy was 1 CP that gave everybody in your team ignore the first white of a climb, drop or traverse, automatically pass jump tests and plus 1 inch movement, and now it also gives you a free mission or pick-up action. Now what's really good about this, of course, is that opening a door is a mission action. So it makes Vanguard good on Into the Dark, where arguably, because there was less climbing, dropping and traversing likely to happen, it was less good. It's now good. So it strikes me as pretty good. But a lot of the chat online is that it's amazing. Like, it's really good. And oh my gosh, Phobos. So I've got like 15 painted. I've got like a full Phobos roster painted up and ready to go. I might give them a spin tomorrow. I think Zimbad's coming around playing Into the Dark. So I will have a go and see what I can do with Phobos and see how, oh my gosh, amazing this ability actually is. Again, I want some real community feedback today. Let me know in the comments whether you think that the adding of this mission action or pickup action is actually going to be a huge boon or not. And if it is going to be a huge boon, please enlighten my tiny brain as to why it is such a massive boon, other than just the door opening. Or maybe just opening doors into the dark is just that big, right? Who knows? The Void Dancer Troop, just a little tweak for the Void Dancer Troop. The Mutoid Vermin don't count for your performance tally. These are the little tiny Pokemons that that count as equipment for the Gallopbox infected and have like very few wounds and stuff, so they don't count for your performance tally. That's fine. I feel like if they're not going to count for performance tallies, they probably shouldn't count for other things like the Rogue Trader faction tech off where you have to get kills. It's 2 damage though, isn't it? I'm sure there's stuff out there that's get kills though, but maybe this is the only thing where you count kills. Anyway, they don't count for it. We should probably move on, otherwise this will be a 3-hour video with needing an intermission. Gallopbox infected. So hilariously, the Gallopbox infected FAQ has not been uploaded in English, and if you click on it while your page is set to English, it takes you to like the Spanish version of the Crute FAQ. But by changing the language to French and utilizing my GCSE in French, by putting it through Google Translate and then giving it a little sanity check, I have divined the meaning of the Gallopbox infected FAQ. So, but basically, it's the Techno Curse does not affect privateer support assets or tactical assets. So that's fine, and it was barely worth the effort. There's also in the balanced data slate, there's a nerf to Vulgar Thrice-Kurt. When people play this team, what do they call this guy? Because I can't believe that they're sitting there at the table going, I activate Vulgar Thrice-Cursed I can't say that quickly. Vulgar Thrice-Kurt, the big guy, the boss. I activate the boss. There we go. That's probably what they say, isn't it? His Lead the Infection ability, you can now use it only once. So that's his ability, which in the generate command point step of each strategy phase, if the operative is within white of an objective marker that's not tainted, you taint the objective marker and you gain 1 CP. Now, that is a nerf, but in a way it's also a buff, because it means that you are not, like, in 2 minds about whether you want to hold Mr. Thrice Cursed back at the back of the board. At least in a way it's a nerf, but it's a nerf that improves your quality of life, because now you can fling Mr. Thrice Cursed forwards with reckless abandon and not feel like you're robbing yourself of your CP battery for the game. The Euclidean Starstriders, it was kind of inevitable that they were going to cop some nerfs. But first, the most annoying FAQ, because it only exists because some people are very annoying. Yes, the Canid can pick things up in the middle of a move action. That's the entire purpose of that set of rule that the Canid has. People who are arguing, oh no, technically Games Workshop haven't worded it properly so it doesn't work. Those are the worst people in the entire wargaming community. So, good, we've got an entire FAQ to slate those people. Good, fine. And we're also learning that the condensed environment rule of closed quarters affects privateer support assets. Okay, I'm not sure. I just assume that means that, I don't know. If someone can illuminate me onto what that that's just how I assumed it would work. If you're playing on a condensed environment and you fire your privateer support asset, then you have to obey all the kind of line of sight and blast and thing. Is it that does blast give you does blast giving you the extra thing because it's blast? Yes, that's a benefit. So I don't know. Sorry, very sorry. Now onto the balanced data slate. A nerf, a big nerf. So this is the old one that I've reprinted. In the last balanced data slate, they improved the BS of all the privateer support assets by 1. They've changed that to be just a buff to the Archaeotech Beam asset. Now, this is because the Euclidean Star Striders originally were really struggling against, I think, Space Marines and Legionaries quite a lot. By buffing them all, including the blast ones, they made them really powerful against, 7-wound Carapace armor teams. So now they've taken that buff away, but you still get the buff to your Archaeotech Beam, which is the one I use mainly because Zimbab plays at the moment is playing mainly Space Marines and Mrs. Ti is mainly playing Legionaries, so I'm getting kind of gatekept a lot by my play group, but there we go. So yeah, I'm not that fussed, but I understand from the people who play really competitively and score really well, this is a big nerf. The Undaunted Explorer strategic ploy has been nerfed in line with all the damage reduction nerfs that's going on in the game. So, Undaunted Explorer, for those that don't know, it used to be when you're within white of an objective, so when you're on the objective circle, if you spent the AP to activate Undaunted Explorers, then you half the dice. You half one of the dice. So if someone attacks you with like a 5 dice attack, they retain 3, you can half one of them. Yeah. Now, when you half one of them, first it's only the first shooting attack against each of your operatives, and secondly, you take a minimum of 2 damage. Realistically, halving one of the dice, you tended to take 2 damage a lot anyway, so I don't think it's a massive change or a massive nerf for Euclidean Star Striders. The bit that is more of a nerf is the fact that you can't keep doing it if someone's got multiple people to shoot you, but I'm not that worried about it. There is another nerf, there's a hidden nerf. So last edition of the Balanced Data Slate gave us the Voidsman Rotor Cannon gain the Relentless special rule. It's now lost the Relentless special rule. This makes me irritated on 2 counts. First of all, this was kind of my favourite buff, despite it being quite weak, because the Rotor Cannon guy is kind of bad. And whilst the Star Striders have a lot of really powerful things, it's nice, I think, if you have more things that can affect the game on a decent level, and if you nerf some of the things that are too strong, rather than nerfing one of the fairly strong things kind of back into the ground where he was. I don't know that they needed that change to the Voidsman's Rotor Cannon. I also think the Games Workshop needs to include things they remove on the new Balanced Data Slate, and then in their FAQs, if they remove something, they should use the strikeout markup on their document so that we can see, at least for the next edition of the document. So if you're listening from Games Workshop or you have contacts in Games Workshop, please try and ask them nicely if they could just include the stuff they remove with the strikeout markup so that we can see clearly when something like this is gone, because I can see people, they just look down the document for the stars, they go, these are the changes, and they miss things that are kind of hidden changes where things have been removed. Intercession Squad, so the durable tactic has been changed. You have to go back to the digital download to find the change. So each time he fights in combat, makes a shooting attack made against it, in the resolve successful hit step of that combat or shooting attack, 1 critical hit inflicts 1 less damage on this operative to a minimum of 3. So this is a good change, especially from the point of view of things. There are lots of weapons out there that did like less damage on the crit, or I'm thinking of weapons that were like 1-1 with like a special effect on the crit, and I always thought this rule was really weird, especially compared to other damage reduction rules in the game. It's actually weaker because it's only reducing crits, but the fact that it's reducing crits, the fact that it makes you sad when you crit in a weird sort of way, it's kind of annoying. So I'm glad that it's been nerfed. Honestly, I think that Intercessors could have stood to have durable removed altogether. Maybe that's a hot take. right. I think they're a strong team without Durable. Durable's just a really annoying rule, and it's been made a bit less annoying. So, it's only affecting 1 dice, and it's a minimum of 3. So, yeah, it's still going to be annoying on like a 4/4 shotgun when you see that 6, and you're like, oh, that means that does 3. Whereas a normal would have done 4. Not a fan. The Far Stalker Kin Band. Piercing shot and toxin shock. Unless you have a Kroot rifle, the weapon has the ranged red special rule, so you can't buy off ranged red by buying ammo, obviously. And your Kroot Hound, much like the Euclidean Stealth Rider's dog, your Kroot Hound does work like it should. Far Stalker Kin Band are unchanged unless you're playing against a pathetic rules lawyer that was making you suffer. Or, in fact, if you were a pathetic rules lawyer that was trying to make other people suffer, suffering. I know that some people think that it's great and that rule system should be tight because we're all lawyers in courtrooms. I'm trying to push models around a board. Like, if we can't engage our intellects and be like, hey, this is obviously what they meant, let's just carry on. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to rag on Games Workshop too much for fixing their game. Like, they fixed it, it's fine, it's fixed, it's good. I just find it really depressing when you read an FAQ and it's like, wow, somebody was trying to pretend that was how it was obviously played. Heretic Circle. So Necron's got a massive array of buffs. There's a lot of text here. Starting with the Reanimation Protocol ability. Resolve before living metal, which was from the last FAQ, that bit was there. Operatives regain D3 plus 3 instead of just D3 lost wounds. And they can be placed within blue of the token rather than as close as possible to the token. So that's quite a buff. The Plasma Sight Accelerator's kind of comms action is now free, and it has a range of red rather than blue, so that's a good buff. The Plasma Sight Reanimator, when it reanimates somebody, it doesn't lose an APL, so that's a buff. The Cryptek, the Despotech, and the Apprentech get 2 extra wounds each, plus 1 BS and weapon skill, which is all really, really good. The Commando Despotech abilities are both free. These two were already here. I didn't snip them out of the picture. And the Cryptek actions now last forever. So, by which I mean you change all instances of the end of the turning point and the start of the next turning point until the start of this operative's next activation if it's incapacitated or another friendly operative performs his action, whichever comes first. So as long as your Cryptek is alive, you once you've activated him once, you can constantly have your Cryptek buffs available. Didn't get the buff I wanted to see for Heretic Circle, which is just that all the Crypteks get all their Cryptek actions, and you don't have to like decide and put them on the roster because that was fiddly and pointless, and still is. But look, it's almost like a whole new team. It's funny, they said in the video that accompanies this on Warcom that they basically said, oh, what we wanted to do was give them 2 extra operatives, but we couldn't do that because we didn't want people to have to buy an extra box of the kill team, so instead we just kind of put all this stuff in to try and mitigate the fact that the team's not very good. We've also got that the Plasma Side Accelerator and the Reanimator can fall back for 1 less action point, which is fine, to a minimum of 1 AP. I mean, I presume they could already do that, and it's just changing it that you have to have a minimum of 1 AP. Sure. And when the Heretic Circle operative is successful in Reanimators, it gets to retain all of its tokens, apart from the Time Splitter unique action. So it's all of its tokens, invulnerable... it gets that. Invulnerable save, Markerlight tokens. So this is good and bad. Like, you keep all your Markerlights that your Tau opponent has put on you, for sure, but you keep any positive buff tokens that you've given yourself as well, which is pretty rad, I would think. So, a lot of buffs for Heretic Circle. Like, I've said it before. Let me know in the comments if you think this is going to make a big difference to Heretic Circle and to their kind of win rate and their perception within the community. Because Heretic Circle, like, I've got a couple of teams I'm interested in at the moment. Phobos I'm interested in, Hand of the Archon I'm interested in, Necrons I'm interested in, and Kazakin I'm interested in. So it's nice to see the Necrons get a buff. I'm not sure about them. They've got a lot, and they probably deserve to be tried. Give me your opinions down below. Navy breaches. Navy breaches have received some meaningful nerfs. So Blitz, add the following. I know it's slightly off the page, but add the following to the Blitz tactical ploy. If you do either, you cannot re-roll the remaining attack dice. So for those of you that don't know, Blitz allows you to retain an unrolled dice as a crit. And if it's the first time that you Blitz in a turning point, I think it is, you can also retain a separate dice as a normal without rolling it. And this is just saying that you cannot stack that with re-rolls on your remaining attack dice from the re-roll ploy. So you can't use Blitz and a bunch of re-rolls to get like a guaranteed almost like 3 dice of damage off. So a slight nerf there, I think. The big nerf to the Navis Grenadier. He now only has 1 of each of his grenades, so he doesn't have 2 frags, 2 cracks, and 2 stuns. He only has 1 of each. So he's not going to have a grenade for every turn, and he's going to have to use a stun grenade on one of his turns, or he can shoot his shotgun, I guess, which he has. And then the Brace for Counterattack strategic ploy, which widely thought of as obnoxious, has just copped the same kind of debuff as we're getting across the board for damage reduction, so it's to a minimum of 3 instead of to a minimum of 2. Fine. And then they got a slight change in the FAQ. So when a Navis Geist Skull explodes, you can't be in cover. Fine. Commandos. Commando's got a really fun little buff. So if you pick the Bomb Squig, you can have the Commando Grot for free, which is nice. So a lot of people were leaving these kind of Pokemon characters on the side because why would I pick a Bomb Squig or a Commando Grot when I can have a whole ass entire Orc that's got a lot more damage output and stuff? So now they are a 2-for-1, so you can swap, basically you're swapping out 1 Orc for both a Bomb Squig and a Commando Grot to get yourself an extra operative if you choose to take the Squig and the Grot. I think that's a really positive change, and I think it will be really well received by especially all the people that play. Whenever I play against Commandos, I don't know, this is because I like mid-table at events, but whenever I play against Commandos, they're taking the Squig and the Grot anyway. So if you were taking the Squig and the Grot anyway, you've gained an Orc, which is pretty good. If you view it that way around, like you've gained an Orc if you were running them otherwise. So that's good. That's really good. Well, I think the Commando players can raise a slight smile. That's good. Legionaries. So again, mutagenic flesh has picked the same standard version of the DR nerf that's going all the way through this balance pass. Nurgle's probably still very good. Like, I don't play Legionaries, and Mrs. TI doesn't play Nurgle because she loves word bearers and has her thing themed around word bearers and doesn't want to change them. But I think probably intellectually speaking, Nurgle's probably still the pick. I don't know. And then the FAQ here, when the resolving the unending bloodshed tactical ploy, can I use the Wrathful Onslaught ability to strike with a normal hit as if it were a critical hit? No, you can't stack that ability with that ploy, unfortunately. Okay. Novies, my first love. Not played Novies in ages. Maybe I should pivot to Novies, right? If Guilt reveals itself, which is a Exaction Squad ploy that removes cover within 2 circle, basically it trumps Blinding Aura, is what we're saying there. It's funny to me how I feel like correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like if Exaction Squad had come out when Novies came out, and Novies were the team that had just come out in a new box, this FAQ would have gone the other way. It always seems like, and it's fine, but it always seems like this could have gone either way, right? This could have gone either way. It's not clear from what's written which takes precedent over what. I just have the suspicion that if it's gone in favour of the new team, which is absolutely fine. It's fine. Close quarters is just saying that when you use your Defenders of the Faith strategic ploy, which is where you can get a free shoot action if you're on an objective, you can use that to get a free guard action because guard actions are shoot actions, which is good. That wouldn't have occurred to me as a thing to try and do, and it is a buff, I think, for novitiates because of that, right? The Vet Guard just got this mention about the contested environment results affecting their off-board artillery as well because it was done for Star Striders, so it's done for Vet Guard. But, Vet Guard players don't actually use their tactical assets, so nobody cares. Corsair Voidsguard, the Shredder in the Voidsguard list gained Rending critical hit rule because the hand of the Archon Shredder, they gave that Rending, and it's the same gun, so it should have Rending in both of its iterations, right? Kazakin. The Kazakin, I'm quite hype about the Kazakin buffs. So first of all, they gain 1 wound across the board, which is 7 to 8, which is one of those really meaningful wound thresholds, so that should make them quite a lot more survivable because of the sort of average damage numbers that a lot of guns have in the game. I think that's quite positive. And also, they get a steady trickle of 2 elite points in each strategy phase, so that if your leader's alive now, I think this means you're getting 4 elite points every turn rather than 2, and then if your leader dies, you go down from 4 down to 2 rather than going from 2 down to 0, which I think is quite good. I think that's quite good. I'm not sure what this word is. Honestlem. It's supposed to be honestly I'm right, but I can't write. So, yeah, I'm quite happy about this. I kind of want to give the Kazakin a go as well, and I know how I want to paint them, but I'm kind of having hobby block at the minute because of my various illnesses, and the Kazakin are still on the sprue. So do I really want to pivot away from Hand of the Archon, who are at least built and undercoated and kind of have started painting them, to start building Kazakin? I don't know. I also kind of feel like maybe I want a second box for Kazakin. They're kind of, not really, but they're kind of a 2-box team. They've also gained this combat blade, so the operative is equipped with a melee weapon for the battle, and the damage characteristics benefit from the Furcadia tactical ploy, which is good, and it's 3 wound, hitting on a 4+3/4 damage. Just lets you have a little bit more punch in melee if that's what you want. But I'd have to look at the rest of the. I'd have to once again have a really critical look at the rest of the equipment that the Kazakin can have and decide whether there's a place for the combat blade. I suppose there's a certain temptation with a 1 EP thing like that, just to go, yeah, they all have combat blades, off you go. But I'm pretty sure you'll want to do different things with your equipment for Kazakin, but I could be wrong. Warp Coven. Oh, now this is a spicy meatball, because I think a few people have missed this in their analysis, or both my big Warp Coven playing opponents were just outliers in playing a rule in a certain way. We'll get to it in a minute. So I'm not talking about this. This is Schemes of Change, and just clarifying how Schemes of Change works with the new TAC Ops deck. So you can select a new TAC Op from those that remain from your chosen archetype, or a faction TAC Op, unless you already have a faction TAC Op. Fine, sensible, makes sense. It's probably how people assume Schemes of Change work. Fine. This, though, I think is quite a spicy meatball. How does the All is Dust ability interact with traversing? Traversing must be included when determining its move limit. Therefore, if a Rubric Marine operative traverses, it may only move 2 circle horizontally. So, Rubric Marines have a rule, All is Dust, which says that they can only ever move 3 circle. Both the people that I know that I've played, that I've played Rubric Marines against their Rubric Marines regularly, have interpreted this, and I agreed with them. I'm not accusing them of anything. Like, as far as I'm concerned, this is how it was played. If this wasn't how it was played in your gaming group, if you've always been playing it this way, let me know in the comments. But as far as I was aware, everybody understood this rule to be you could only ever move 3 circle, horizontally. But if you want to move and dash over a barricade, then you can do that, because it's a lot of people were assuming it was like as the crow flies movement. It's not. It's absolute values. So if you traverse, you can only move 2 circle, which I think is quite a nerf to rubrics actually. And it's weird to me, but the reason that I'm rambling about it is it's presented here in the FAQ section as if it's like, oh yeah, no, this is how it's played. And like a lot of the other FAQs earlier on, I've been slating because I've been like, oh, only like weirdos would have interpreted this another way. But this seems like a genuine, to me, this seems like a genuine change. Maybe it's just metas, right? Maybe in your meta, everybody just agreed that dogs couldn't pick things up while they were moving, and it was obvious, and now you're blown away that dogs can pick stuff up. Maybe that meta exists out there. I don't know. Maybe I should sound less harsh in my judgments of people and how understanding of the rules. Exaction Squad, Adeptus Arbites, Arbite's Castigator, the Endangered Focus ability, add the following to the bracketed part of the sentence, including modifiers to the weapons it's equipped with, but excluding its defense characteristic. What is there in the world that modifies a defense characteristic? Like, I get that you can still modify a defense characteristic, but I don't fully understand what it is in the game that modifies defense characteristics. So again, I've said this a lot this video. If you understand implicitly what this is about, please let me know in the comments. This is a retread of the FAQ that was in the Novitiates FAQ. Actually, it's good that they've done that, because if you might just play Exaction Squad, and you might only have looked in the Exaction Squad FAQ, but I've explained this on the Novitiate slide, and I don't have the appetite to explain it again, but it's good that that's restated. And then this is also about the Endangered Focus ability. Can use it to ignore modifiers to the damage inflicted by a friendly castigator. For example, if a legionary is benefiting from mutigating flesh, it hits it with the Exactable, will it inflict the full 4 damage? Yes, it will. So that's good. The castigator doesn't really care about damage reduction, which is pretty sweet. Yeah. Okay. And the Hand of the Archon. So it's much ado about the Disciple of Ylindra. So let's have a look here. Now, I don't believe any of these are supposed to be nerfs or buffs. They are all really clarifications over some quite novel rules. So the Disciple of Ylindra Torment Grenade. This operative cannot perform this action while engagement range of an enemy operative. So because it wasn't technically a shooting attack, you were nominating a point and everything, there was nothing in the rules that said that you couldn't do it in combat, but obviously it's supposed to be simulating throwing a grenade, so logically you can't do it in combat. Well, now the rules say you can't do it in combat. It changes the first part, the third bullet point here. They've changed the timing for the mortal wounds from the end of each turning point to the ready operative step of each turning point. Again, if you understand why, tell me in the comments. And then you add the following bullet point that the effects of being poisoned remain even if you're incapacitated, so it persists after the disciple is killed. This here basically says that you can get pain tokens for your disciple. If somebody dies of this effect, then the disciple, if they're alive, gains the pain token. Fine. This is a weird thing that I genuinely have no concept of what. So from using from Darkness Death strategy deployed, you select the enemy operative before determining the friendly operative's order for that activation. Yes, I don't understand why that makes a difference to anything as to whether you'd go, I'm on attack and now I'm going to sort this ploy out, to I'm going to sort this ploy out and now I change my order. I don't quite get that. Maybe someone else can understand the interaction there. I know I'm saying that a lot, but I think there's a lot of really niche interactions between something that's being FAQ'd and one other specific ability in the game, and if you don't know, you don't know. When shooting the Stinger pistol, basically it can benefit from rerolls. You determine the mortal wounds after any rerolls that you choose to do. With the Fleet of Foot strategic deploy, I guess people don't understand vice versa. You can do a normal move or fall back and then a free dash, or you can do a free dash and then a normal move, but not a free dash and then a fallback, because having done the dash, you wouldn't be within engagement range. That's fine. And you can't use Devious Scheme to add one to the cost of a free ploy. The ploy remains free. Final thoughts. What did I miss? Nearly missed the entire Hand of the Archon, which is why there was a pause there, because I had to quickly go and make the slide for them. Anything in here shock and surprise you? I think the biggest shock is that how Thousand Suns are supposed to move and can only move 2 circle if they traverse. Your best guesses on how this affects the meta? Really interested to know that. I am working on the Arbites rundown video, I have started it. I've done all the photographs and started putting the slides together. I'm still not feeling 110% better, but after tomorrow, I was at work today. We had a non-uniform day to raise money for the earthquake victims in Turkey and Syria, so I'm wearing my casual clothes, but I was at work. Tomorrow I'll be at work, and then I've got 2 weeks off for Easter, so hopefully I can recharge my batteries and start getting back on the content and hobby trains, right? So that Arbites rundown video should be coming soon. Those of you that have been following, my tinnitus is basically gone, which is good. I can still hear it when I look for it, but it doesn't get really loud when I do that. It just kind of stays there in the very background, so that's good. But I have picked up another cough, which is why I managed to cough down the microphone at least once in that video. Sorry. And I just want to thank everybody again for their ongoing support. It means a lot. I am coming out of it now, but I have been in quite a kind of funk. I don't suffer like clinically from depression, but I think everyone has off days or off weeks or off times, and I was just having a bit of an off time with my health kind of failing me a little bit. So it means a lot, the people who I really enjoy answering the comments. It means a lot, the comments. It means a lot during the Discord. People that still use Element Games. People who are members. And it's not so much the money. Of course, I like money. We live in a capitalistic society, and more money means more toy soldiers. But I like the visible, like, this person likes what I'm doing so much they're prepared to send me some money. That's like a really big deal from a mental health point of view. So thank you to all those people for putting up with me during this little dip in content production. Hopefully we will steady the ship and start to accelerate away from the dip. Alright, thanks everybody. I've been rambling for 41 minutes. Brevity was not my aim, so I'm not going to apologise. I think you've got value for money out of your 41 minutes. Bye-bye. Have a great evening.